So for those that were needing to work on other things or may have missed the in-class video on making trays, I'll do one here fairly quick, and I'll include a little bit of things I didn't show in class. So I'm just going to start with a cube, draw that out, go to edit mode, get around, turn the floor on so I can kind of tell where it's going to be. And then before I make it a Polymesh 3D, come down to initialize, and I'm going to drop the Y size down some until it starts to look about tray height. And then let's take the X size in some, so I'll kind of know where the X axis is. Maybe not that much. Yeah, something about like that. Roughly tray proportions. Get some reference if you need to. And then in this case, I'm going to make it a poly. Now, once I get these sizes, I'm going to make it Polymesh 3D, and I'm going to subdivide it some to help smooth it out a little bit. So, yeah, Control D, Control D, and that gets me a lot of the radiusing, say, that would occur on these trays. And then once I get that, then I can come to Dynamesh and we'll turn on polish. And may not need project on this first part. And we'll try it at 128 resolution, and if that doesn't work, I'll up it. Actually, before I do that, before I do any Dynameshing, let's take a look at the size of it, and it's a little bit small relative to, say, some of my other pieces. You'd want to maybe bring in a piece from your roller to act as a reference for this. So you could either through the mesh size change it there, or through deformation. I'm just going to change the size in X, Y, and Z and just scale that up some. Yeah, that looks good. And now let's see what we get from the 128 on the Dynamesh. So yeah, just polish and let me escape out of that and delete the lower. And now let's Dynamesh it. There we go. That's looking good. And yeah, that resolution is fine for right now. I may want to up that. It may be okay. Let's see. So next, what I want to do with Dynamesh still active is I'm going to change to my clip curve brush and put a little draft on this. So to do the Y sides, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to just go ahead and do it. Let's see. Let's get this thing reversed. And let's see, use the space bar to reposition it. I don't want to take too much off, just a very slight amount of draft on it on that side, and then let's put some over on the other. I'm holding down Control and Shift to start this, but then I'm letting go of Shift because if you keep it held down, it constrains it to these 15-degree increments, and I might want something a lot less than that. So let's do that. And I'm not worried about these being even because I'm going to cut this thing even more down here. So I just want to put a slight amount of draft on this thing. And then along the X sides, I'm going to turn on symmetry. So I'm going to hit the X key, and it by default X symmetry is turned on. So I've got that. And then now I can draw out my clip line again. And again, just a slight amount is really all it needs. Yeah. And then let's re-Dynamesh, see how that looks. Might be a little bit of issue. Let's turn the polyframe off and see how we're doing on the corners. Yeah, maybe a little bit of smoothing might be needed around those. So let's make the size of our brush a little bit bigger. Shift and yeah, Dynamesh there. And even if it is, you can also come in with the clip curve brush on these, and let's come down to this end and just kind of start it along that edge and press Alt and let it curve around. re-dynamesh. And yeah, that can get some of it. Let's do it again down here. And let's do it on the sides. Make sure I got X, yeah, symmetry still on. Hang on a minute, I've got to pause. Okay, back, sorry about that. Let's see, yeah, so I was going to do, yeah, on the X here. So start the line, let's get it moved kind of right up to the edge there. Let it head down along it and kind of figure out where I want to make my curve. Press Alt. Might need another Alt in there, yeah, and then let it really curve on around. Take those off. Yeah, and then it should just be a matter of smoothing it out. Turn that floor off, make it a little easier to see. Yeah, and then dynamesh it up. Okay, so that looks like it's got a pretty good draft, fairly good radiusing on it. And let's take a look at the, turn the polyframe back on, the relative distribution of the edges. May want to redo some of those after I do this next cut, but with my, let's see, kind of looking down the x-axis here, I want to make a bevel up on the tray from probably somewhere around in here. Let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. You know, the kind of the dead flat spot for the roller to drop into. So just going to start my line and then reposition it if I need to. Let's see. Most of these trays, yeah, let's try an angle about like that. And yeah, that looks pretty good. And I can come in too and put a little bit of smoothing on that. Let's see. Just to roll that edge over a little bit. Here, let's turn that polyframe off. It's a lot easier to see with it off. That actually looks pretty good. I don't want to overdo it. Just enough so that paint wouldn't really build up in the corners. Alright, that looks okay. And you could turn polish off on this if you're getting kind of too hard an edge. In fact, yeah, let me do that because it looked like it was doing a little of that. So turn that off and do that. Yeah, it looks a little better now. Well, actually, now it made that kind of lumpy, so let's turn it back on. There we go, much better. And let's see, polyframe back on. Let's see if we can get a little bit of relax on it to kind of help with the, even out the distribution somewhat, because we're going to sculpt on it next. Yeah, and that can help with that. So, all right, that looks pretty good all the way around. All right, so to do some of the pieces on some of the indentations, say on the bottoms of this thing, I'm going to use masking. And with my symmetry still on, I'm going to start a rectangle here, and I'm going to make just a little bump out that's going to act as the foot for this thing on the base, and really I only need to go a little over halfway on that with symmetry on, and that'll pull that out. And if you get some of these little outliers and boogers, you can try relaxing a little more to get rid of them, or you can also use not that. See, I just need Control and Alt, drag a little bit over that. See if I can clip that off. There we go, that's good. And then maybe a little bit of the same thing on that part right there. Yeah. So that's looking pretty good. So if you want, and then invert that selection. If you want a, and switch to the Move tool, turn symmetry off. If you want, you know, kind of a hard edge on these things, move, you know, something like that, then you leave that as is. If you want that to have a little more bevel or radius to it, then Control click on here to blur the mask a little bit, and then try it. So now we'll grab this and hold Shift and pull that down just a little bit. Not going to need much. Let's see how that looks. It actually might be a bit much. Let me undo that. I'll do it from the side here so I can see better what I'm getting. Yeah, that looks good. And then clear the mask, Dynamesh. Yeah, that looks just fine. And then let's do some little angled ridges on here. We'll turn the floor back on and make sure that, yeah, I'm looking at the bottom of this thing. And these I want to push in, so I'm just going to draw them from here. And I'm going to use backtracking, and so to do that, when I come back, I'll show how to set that up so that I can make straight lines with the masking tool. And I want to kind of start fresh on that. So let me stop this video and I'll pick it up.